With this now, I would request Dr. Sanjay Behel, Director General, CERTIN, to address the audiences. Dr. Sanjay is currently the Director General of the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team. He has in-depth experience in the ICT industry. His background includes broad and deep skills and knowledge encompassing unique experiences in technology, business, global trade, and policy in the private and public sectors, along with academic, public policy, and legal areas. He has been a member of various security committees at national and international levels.
The topic today is accelerating your business transformation strategy. So let us discuss this from the perspective is what is accelerating business transformation? What does it mean? Accelerating business transformation means accelerating change management strategy, which you can define as accelerating any shift or realignment or fundamental change in business operations. And why is this acceleration required now? So that the business can survive and thrive in an environment which is throwing up new innovation driven opportunities as it responds to shifting market demands while navigating the evolving regulatory complexities. The survival of the business is now dependent on maintaining trust in the services that it provides. So we are living in a Aja environment. Have you come across this word Aja? Do you know what is Aja? Aja is asthirta or volatile. It is anishchita, uncertain, lack of clarity about the present and the future. It is jatilta or the complexity, the multiple factors which are impacting key decisions. It is aspashtata or ambiguity, lack of clarity about the meaning of events. So why is it now that we require this acceleration of business transformation? Because now we are living in this Aja world, and this is an extraordinarily challenging time where this pandemic has given rise to a contact free economy, which is accelerating digital business transformation. And it is changing our society, government, and industry. So businesses are now taking informed data driven decisions and making choices which have the potential to shape our economy, politics, digital India, culture, and society. We need to decide what kind of society, government, and industry we wish to create rather than trying to foresee the kind of society, government, or industry that will be created. This is our opportunity now. So, what would be the building blocks for digital transformation? It requires connectivity. Without connectivity, obviously, there is no digital transformation. Once you have connectivity and you have the tools, etc., then you should know how to effectively use them. To effectively use them, you require skills. Once you have these, obviously, it's not just doing something on the highway. You need some policies. You need to address the security and privacy issues in the digital transformation. And you need governance and strategic coordination. So, as a business leader, what should you be doing? You need to understand the threats which your organization will be facing, including your people when they are working from home during these times. You will have to provide clear guidance uh, and encourage communication from them so that they ensure that the policies are clear and easy to use when they are doing it from home, and they know whom to contact if there is any issue or suspicious activity that they see. You'll have to provide the right security capabilities in the sense that whatever machines or digital devices that you have given to the employees, they are managed from a corporate perspective, and you have the necessary tools on these digital devices so that the people are not impacted when there is something malicious happening. I said that you have to understand the threats. So what is the threat landscape currently? What we see is that there are nation state actors who are involved in espionage operations and also financially motivated crime and frauds. There is targeted ransomware which is available as a service. There is destructive malware which is based on attacks which are increasing. There is remote login, there is credential stealing, memory executable codes attacks which are increasing. Also on the increase is the distributed denial of service attacks frequency. With this entry of IoTs or Internet of Things, the attacks on these have also increased. Also, there's an observation on traffic, the internet traffic being hijacked. On the crime side, the ecosystem is demonstrating extreme flexibility in terms of the tactics, techniques, procedures they use, and they are able to change their course mid-campaign to achieve their objectives. So there is obviously a challenge in terms of trust in the digital devices and connectivity. To address it in a holistic manner, you need to look at the governance. Why do I say governance? When you look at governance, and I'm specifically talking about security governance, because security is a quality aspect. So security governance has a direct impact on the security service quality that you provide. And this security service quality has a direct impact on the organization's performance. The services that you have to provide should be resilient. You're seeing what happens if the services are down, or for a few days if you are not able to get connected and not able to do your business activities, you have huge losses. So you need to have resilient services. Your policies should be in place for security and privacy. Whatever software you are developing will have to be following secure software development life cycle. You will also have to look at the operational aspects in terms of the security and safety operations center that you have, depending on the size of the organization you are. You should be able to integrate all your different devices from a security perspective, including also all your supply chains, so that you have complete visibility as to what is happening and what is the threat that is emerging and from where. Once you got all these, then you will be able to provide value-added services which will improve your organizational performance and also provide a better user experience. And as I said, there's a trust deficit in technology-based systems because that has increased, and that's what we've seen during the COVID time. So there's a new approach known as the zero trust architecture, which you may want to adopt and follow. This zero trust architecture is a security concept fixed on the principle that organizations need to proactively control all interactions between people, data, and information systems to reduce security risks to acceptable levels by creating discrete granular access rules for specific applications and services within a network. So I've talked about trust and what also impacts trust. Basically, cyber attacks erode customer trust. The cost of cyber attacks has increased 52%. And the primary goal of cyber attacks is service disruption and infrastructure destruction. It is mentioned in various reports that ransomware attacks will occur every 14 seconds. and create a loss of $11.5 billion. And these cyber attacks are becoming more frequent and impactful. Impactful because they are impacting the digital infrastructure which the businesses are setting up. And that is why they need to be robust and resilient. Otherwise, this foundation itself will be shaken. It is impacting the digital confidence because confidence is comprising of transparency, trust, and security, which gets shaken. It is impacting finally the digital economy because of the fractured technology or infrastructure. The economic growth will not be sustainable. So, what will happen if there's a cyber pandemic? Are you ready? If it has similar characteristics of the coronavirus, during the cyber pandemic, it will be fast, it will spread faster and much further than any biological virus. This has been mentioned by the World Economic Forum. So if you look at the reproductive rate of COVID-19, it is somewhere between 2 to 3 when there is no social distancing, which means that every infected person passes the virus to 2 or 3 people. And this number affects how fast a virus can spread. And contrast this with a cyber pandemic. It is estimated that the reproductive rate of the cyber attack is 27 and above. So where is 2 or 3 and where is 27? And you've seen what damage 2 or 3 is being created by this biological virus, and what will happen when there's a cyber pandemic which impacts 27 and above. The economic impact also of this widespread digital shutdown will be of the same magnitude or maybe greater than what we are currently seeing. In a single day without the internet, the cost to the world will be $50 billion. So if you have a 21-day lockdown, a cyber lockdown, that will cost over $1 trillion. And recovery from this widespread destruction of digital systems will be extremely challenging. So just imagine replacing 5% of the world's connected devices, which may have been impacted by malicious software, etc. It will require about 71 million devices, new devices. And how do you get these 71 million new devices? Suppose the manufacturing and logistics systems are also impacted. Is there a mechanism to manufacture and produce so many new devices on urgent basis? And then whatever has survived, can you at breakneck speed patch and reinstall whatever has been impacted? These are nightmares that we are sitting on. So how do you finally look at building a trusted business infrastructure? I'll say there are 6 basic 5 pillars, and there's a foundation on which these 5 pillars basically are standing. One is having a trusted supply chain. You need to make sure that you implemented a trusted value chain framework where you are in a position to do security testing of this framework and also of all the equipment and software which is coming in through certification labs. You are in a position to carry out risk analysis to understand how much is the risk, how much is your risk appetite in the organization, whether you are willing to accept that risk, are you willing to outsource that risk, are you willing to mitigate that risk or not? Because that will define who will be your trusted supply chain partners and how you're going to interact with them. You will have to look at a trusted architecture where you identify and adopt standards. I mentioned about this zero trust architecture, which you will have to probably look at. Look at managed service providers as part of your trusted supply chain and also as part of your trusted architecture, because now they're going to be sitting inside your business architecture. So how secure are their infrastructure and how secure are their processes and how secure are their people? You'll have to start addressing those issues. Next will be robust and resilient infrastructure in terms of how do you look at network monitoring, detection of attacks, detection of any outbreaks, etc. How do you look at information exchange for any attacks and any security issues or anomalies that you see? Because no one is in a position to do everything on their own. You will have to start looking at partners. So from the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, or CERT-IN, we have put in place various projects which are helping a variety of organizations and sectors, such as the Cyber Swachhta Kendra, which is providing you service on a daily basis as to which are your devices which have malware, which are the vulnerable services which are to be looked at by your organization and hardened and closed. We have the National Cyber Coordination Center in place, which is in a position to look at situational awareness and give you advance notices as to what is happening and what you may want to, what steps you may want to take. We are providing cyber threat intelligence using the sticks and taxi formats so that there is no manual intervention. As soon as we understand what is the threat, we are providing the indicators of compromise, we are giving the details that can be ingested by our SIEMs, etc., directly, so that there is no manual intervention and there is no error, scope of error, and your devices are then appropriately secured. And this is almost in real time. And then you can start assessing your security posture as to how you are performing, what you need to do additionally, etc. I talked about security by design as the next pillar, where you are looking at compliance and adequacy of security controls. So you will have to start looking at certain audit mechanisms, etc. We have empaneled auditors in place, more than 90 of them today. So you can look at those. We have put in place from CERT side the cyber crisis management plan. So when there is a crisis, what needs to be done, who needs to be informed, and how you need to carry out what activities. There's incident response, which is our main focus. So you can let us know that this is the sort of incident that has happened. We will provide you guidance. This is a 24/7 operation that we run here. You will have to think of participating in various drills that we perform or exercises which help you to understand what your security posture is, where you need improvements, how good your people are, how good your processes are, how good your tools are. In case you have to go to your senior management or board for approvals, you know exactly what you are asking for and where you are asking for approvals. And then obviously the fifth pillar is capacity building, because there is a huge gap in terms of what is the skill set available with people and what is the skill set that is required. So one is obviously the skill set which is required for securing all this infrastructure and devices. So that's the technical skill, but you also have to make sure that you build capacity across the organization by letting them know what they have to do in terms of security and how they need to make sure that they are not falling victims to simple things like phishing, etc. So there are mechanisms of carrying out these awareness sessions. One is you can do it yourself. There are various other entities doing awareness sessions. There are also for the technical people, there are formal courses which are available and certifications. And the foundation for all this is the ecosystem which needs to be in place, where we need to look at the academia which can come up with certain uh, research and development aspects which can help and feed into this whole system. We need to look at the privacy impacts. We need to create more auditors. Obviously, when you are providing such services, there might be grievances. So you need to have a grievance and redressal system, because now you've gone digital. So you have to start addressing the grievance redressal systems. For privacy, you should have in place whom someone should contact in case there's a privacy impact on for the users. Uh, since you are looking at multiple partners in the supply chain, you may have to carry out background checks not only within your organization but also across the supply chain, and ensure that there is no issue and challenges from that perspective. And also look at how you can, as the Honorable Prime Minister has been saying, look at products and services which will make or go towards Atmanirbhar Bharat. So look at Make in India, which will help you in doing some of these things. So I think with this, if you have these things in place and look at security, you will have a much better organizational performance and a proper security governance, and the results will be obviously available for all to see, and you will be able to look at the requirements of innovation which have come up during these times. So these new opportunities which are being opened up, and you will be able to address the market demands and also be compliant to the need of regulations which are evolving and coming up in place. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us on the various facts related to the cybersecurity, and thanks to Certain for sharing the regularly updates on the vulnerabilities.